Welcome back to the Ammo Podcast. I'm about to beat a dead horse today. That's all I can say. You've heard this topic at least 100 times, so feel free to keep on scrolling or stay tuned for trophy hunting. So if you're new to the channel, I am a hunter of opportunity, right? I have this very, very firm saying that I measure my trophies in heartbeats. And what do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty simple. If it got my adrenaline pumping, if it got my heart racing, if I can tell you the story 20 years from now, like it was happening in that moment, like I was sitting there in that moment, then that is a trophy to me. And I think that, and unfortunately, it's an internet fault. I hate saying that because I spend so much of my time on the internet, but the reality is that the internet has caused this pandemic, this epidemic, if you will. Pandemic is the better word. But we have gotten to this point where, for whatever reason, instead of saying good job when someone posts a deer on Instagram or Facebook, we say, you should have let it wait another year or grow another year. What does he score? How old is he? Do you have any photos of him? And I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. That is crap. And if you're one of those people, I'm kind of sort of talking to you. And if you want to come at me with hate in the comments, that's perfectly fine. But we've got some things we need to talk about. So imagine it. You're in your mid-20s. You just had a couple kids in the past couple years. You and your wife are freshly married. You're starting a new career. You're grinding. You're hustling. You are doing everything that you are supposed to do as a man to provide for a family. You don't have time to hunt. That's the reality of life. So your wife on, let's say, Thanksgiving morning says, hey, honey, you go ahead and head off to the woods this morning. I'm going to go ahead and start cooking our Thanksgiving dinner. I want you to go relax and enjoy yourself. Thank you for everything that you do. Awesome. That's a good woman right there, right? Of course it is. So you're in the woods. It's about 9:30 in the morning. Where you're at, it's freezing cold. Let's just say it's in the 20s. It's about, like I said, about 9:30 in the morning. And here comes this beautiful animal walking out of the woods. And on top of his head, you see this little tiny basket of 6 antlers. And knowing that this is going to be your only opportunity in the woods, you, with pride, mind you, take the safety off of your firearm or draw the string back on your bow, and you let that bullet or that arrow fly. And it hits that deer, and you watch that deer walk off for about 60 yards and fall over, and congratulations, buddy. You just scored yourself a hammer little basket 2-year-old 6-point. So what do? You want to show the world like how great God is that he created these animals and that we're able to go out here and pursue them and use them to provide sustenance for our families. So of course, you want to brag on God. So you post it on Instagram and you post it on Facebook. And the very first comment that you get is, man, he would have looked great in 2 or 3 years. Are we serious right now? Like, is this the society that we have become? That we can't sit here and be proud of our fellow hunters and huntresses, and instead we have to inadvertently, I'm not saying like you guys are doing it with this like ill will and this negative heart and this feeling of like of anger and these things. No. Regardless, you're sitting here and you're putting down your fellow hunter. For what? Does it make you feel better about yourself? Does it does it somehow make you better than him or her? Because I have that answer. You ready for it? It doesn't. It doesn't make you any better at all. Matter of factly, if you want my opinion on it, and I'm sure you don't, because at this point in time, you've probably already skipped through this podcast if this is you who's leaving these comments. But if you want my opinion on it, it makes them 10 times the hunter that you are. You getting me choked up on it. So, maybe you're the hunter who gets to spend all his time in the woods, right? Like every evening, every morning before work, you get to go out there. And it's been a rough season for you. And, a couple weeks before season lets out, this nice 140 class buck walks through. You put an arrow in him, same deal, right? And now you're proud because you have scored a trophy in your eyes, right? Congratulations, that's awesome. I am proud of you. But what happens next? Oh, Billy Bob, Joe Bob, that lives in Iowa, who 140 to him is just a little 3-year-old, comes in and bashes you and says, man, what would that deer have been in a couple of years? Now, how are you feeling? Or maybe, just maybe, you're Billy Bob, Joe Bob in Iowa, and you ended up putting down 185-inch deer, and that is your biggest deer to date. But then, old Billy Bob, Joe Billy comes on to your Instagram and says, man, if you'd have let him go another year, he'd have broke 200 inches. Do you see how this whole thing just keeps trending? Meanwhile, the entire time, your organizations like PETA and all these people that are completely against deer hunting are sitting back on the sidelines, and they're just sitting there just absolutely grinding their teeth knowing that you are tearing down your fellow hunter and they don't have to do a single thing. They're just going to sit back and watch this whole thing implode because we, as hunters, do more bickering amongst one another than they will ever do inside of our circles. You can go on literally any single Facebook post. Any single one. No matter how big or how small the page may or may not be, you can go on there, and if there's, let's say, 50 comments, I can guarantee you 50 negative comments, excuse me. I can guarantee you 45 of them are for fellow hunters, and the other 5 are from people who are anti-hunting. Let that sink in a minute. People are sitting here worried about these laws, right? And I'm one of those people. Like, I'm worried about how much our government just keeps reaching in and implementing laws. Now, side note, time out. I do believe I am very, and I have always admitted this, that I am very for hunting regulations. We have shown, unfortunately, as humans, that we are not responsible for the resource without some sort of regulation. If you don't believe me, look at any history of the North American buffalo. However, I also believe that our government is kind of reaching in there. Sell off of public lands and the talk thereof. All these CWD laws and regulations, which we can talk about CWD at a later date, but regardless, they're there. You look at all these properties that we're losing access to. You look at all these new stipulations that they're putting on things. And meanwhile, we're sitting over here when we've got these serious problems right in front of our faces. We're sitting over here more worried about the inches on a deer's head. What? Dude, let me tell you something. I have took some pretty big deer in my life, and I'm not going to say I've took anything that is record worthy, because I haven't, because I don't really hunt in places where records can be broken, and I'm completely okay with that. But even though I have took large caliber deer in my life, if it's got me feeling right, and if you don't believe me, go back to last year's TikTok live. If it's got me feeling right, I don't care how small of a deer it is. If it's got me excited, which we're going back to what I originally started with, then I am going to harvest said deer. Because it is my tag, first and foremost. It is my day in the woods. It is my core memory. It is all for me. This is the one and only time in life I will ever tell you as a man or as a woman to be selfish. Be 100% selfish. This is your moment. It is not mine. It is not Instagram's. It is not Facebook's. Yes, you can put your things on there. I'm not saying don't put it on there. By all means, put it on there. Tag Appalachian Mountain Men Outdoors in the comments, because we're going to come in there and we're going to brag on you, because this is your time to shine. This is your moment. And if it makes you happy, then that is the deer or the bear or the turkey or whatever it is that you are supposed to tag that day. Which brings me to the whole, like, the turkey and deer thing, right? Like, a turkey is a turkey. A tom turkey is a tom turkey. No one says, oh man, that beard needed a few more inches. What? No. Now, however, I do see people sitting there bashing people for taking jakes. And although I personally don't like harvesting jakes, if it's legal in someone's state and they take it and they're happy with it, you think I am ever going to open my mouth in any sort of negative way? Yeah, you better believe I'm not. All I'm going to do is sit there and say, congratulations. That's what we should all be doing. We should be congratulating each other. We should be building each other up. We should be helping each other when we're down and we're going through those funks. But instead, we want to sit here and bicker about a trophy. Really? Like, this is where we've come to. And then we turn around and say, I wonder why there's not as many hunters. I wonder why the government keeps putting all these regulations on us and there's no kickback from it. I wonder why all these people think us hunters are just these self-righteous, high and mighty folk. Because this is how we talk to one another. I'm scared to see how you talk to the non-hunting folk. If you were to come and hunt on the forest land that I hunt on, which is full of mountain bikers and hikers and things of that nature, it makes me really concerned about the taste that you would put in their mouth for the mass hunting public. And here's the thing. I know what kind of taste you put in their mouth, because I run into them and I try to have conversation with them. And they look at me like, oh my goodness, this guy's going to rip into me. This guy, he's a demon. Do better. It's not that hard. If you didn't learn this as a kid, I'm going to teach it to you now. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Keep your mouth shut. Plain and simple. It's that easy. Oh, but it affects my herd. No, it does not. If your neighbor is shooting dinks off of your property, dinks, as you guys put them, guess where those big bucks are hiding? Not on his property. I need you guys to understand something. If it was affecting your trophy class deer, like you say, oh, he went and did this, then we've got more problems than that, because that means the DNR is giving your neighbor too many tags, which guess what? That means he's giving you too many tags. So if killing a dink every year is keeping you from killing trophies, you might want to evaluate the way you're hunting, the style that you're hunting. Maybe you're not doing enough. Maybe the entire issue isn't your neighbor shooting that dink, but maybe it's because you're not this big bad hunter that you think you are. Did you ever stop and think about that? Of course you did, because you're too wrapped up in your own little world. And am I getting harsh today? Absolutely I am, because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of seeing 14, 15-year-old kids who are finally getting to go out on their own. You know, their mom or dad drops them off in the woods and says, good luck. I hope you do it. They're getting this opportunity to grow into themselves as a hunter, and they go out and they shoot a spike, and they're proud of it because they did it on their own. It's like their 4th or 5th year, but they did this one on their own. And yet you are going to sit there and bash them on the internet. I can guarantee you that if my son, who is 6 now, were 14 years old, that you wouldn't say that to him in person. I can guarantee you would not bash him in person. Not with me there. I can guarantee it. And I'm going to leave that at that. Now then, let's slow the pace down a little bit. If you're on the other end of that spectrum and you're worried that someone is going to come in and absolutely just make you feel like less of a person because you harvested a dink, a small deer, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You be proud. You be proud of you. You have done something that 90% of the population will never experience. You have touched your primitive side. You have reached down in and touched your primitive side, and you have successfully harvested a creature whose entire DNA, whose entire makeup is to avoid you. His eyes, or her, if you shot a doe, their eyes, their ears, their nose, the way they walk, the very fur that is on their skin to help them blend into the nature around them, everything was designed to avoid you. And you harvested that animal. That animal's coming home to go in your freezer. And you better, if it's just a little tiny button buck, you better skull cap that thing at the very least. And put that on your wall at the very least. Because you did it. You did it. Not Billy Bob from Iowa. You. You went out there. You faced the elements. You read the sign, or maybe you just got lucky, but regardless, you were out there. You succeeded in this. I don't like getting heated. I like to be level-headed. I like to see things from every aspect. Like, I can understand, although I disagree with it, I can understand the whole crossbow debate going on right now. I can see where technology is going to get a little bit too advanced and crossbows are going to be too fast and they're going to be dangerous. You know, you're basically going to have a bolt flying through the air at the speed of a bullet in the next 15 years. So I can see both ends of the spectrum, right? I can see 99% of the time both sides of the argument. And then I'll base my opinion on it. I'll present the reason I feel a certain way, and then I'll hear you out, and I will absorb the reason why you feel the way you do, i.e. the crossbow debate. But when it comes to this, when it comes to people bashing people for their harvest, as long as it was legal and ethical, you're wrong. Your opinion don't mean jack diddly to me. You are 100% in the wrong, and I will stand and die on that hill. If you want to discuss it, feel free, comment down below. If you like this video and you agree with me, please hit that like button. And if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel so we can discuss more about the pros and cons of the things that are going on in our hunting society today. Getting a little infomercially here. I'm going to go calm down. And until next time, see you on the hill.